Disappointed, yes.
Yet as the session nears its midpoint, none of this is happening. Top Democrats accuse Republicans of not wanting any deals in hopes of improving their hand in the fall midterms and having control of the budget surplus next year.
There's a lot of issues that are out there, and the idea that you'll just run out the clock and maybe roll the dice that you've got the money to spend it all yourself.
They've provided insights into which Americans are receiving the most of the latest round of aid, because the payments are just based on a number of things. People in different households, like your income payments, favor families, and if you're having a dependent, you'll get more money. Under the American Rescue Plan from Joe Biden, he signed into law. It did send out $1,400 per person, but this means that larger families are likely to get some bigger checks with people compared to the people who have no money at all. In Idaho, where IRS data showed that households enjoyed the second biggest average payout, at $2,300 a month for people with around 2.5 dependents. States with the smallest average per household payments are people in the Northeast, rounding at the bottom. That's around $2,000 a month of stimulus cash, everybody. And Massachusetts had also the biggest and second smallest payment at an average of $2,200 a month. Families in the Northeast tend to be smaller compared to those in many western mid-states, because those people have higher incomes and likely limited number of people eligible that are in for more stimulus cash. For instance, the last round of checks provided $1,400 to each single taxpayer, and now it's $2,800 if you're filing and making less than $150,000. Above those dollar thresholds, the payments taper off. The IRS announced that more than half of the payments have been sent to households making less than $50,000 a year. Households earning less than $10,000 received the greatest number of payments, with the tax agency sending more than 22 million checks to the income group. And that's far more than expected. Back in September, though, the IRS announced it was attempting to contact the nearly 9 million low-income people who didn't receive the money that they needed to get. But now, fast forward 2 years ago, and there are now between 9 and 10 million eligible individuals who still haven't got stimulus cash. So although October was the deadline for taxpayers who missed the April deadline to file taxes, non-filing individuals and families had until November 15th to file a simplified tax return, get the stimulus checks in your bank account, and so forth. But after the November deadline, you can still miss the missing payments by filing a federal tax return. In cases where a federal income tax return was not filed, the law provides most taxpayers with a 3-year window to claim the refund. So don't be worried if you haven't got your stimulus cash yet. Just be a little patient. You should be getting it in the mail very soon.
Finally, I opened on a very sad note. Let me close on a happy one. There's immense joy and pride that the Senate passed the Respect for Marriage Act, a major victory for freedom, dignity, and equality for all. I'm so excited. House Democrats, as you know, originally passed the bill in July following the alarming concurrence in the Dobbs decision by Justice Thompson, when he concurred by saying he took aim at Obergefell. He just made it clear that this could be another target. The bill ensured that regardless of what the MAGA majority in the Supreme Court may do in the future, the federal government will never again stand in the way of marrying the person you love. We're going to take it up next week on Tuesday. That's going to be announced by the Rules Committee, so you knew first. And we will send it swiftly to the President's desk for signature. I'm particularly happy because it'll be one of the last bills that I will sign as Speaker in an enrollment ceremony.
Year-over-year prices also jumped, making many essential items more expensive. The Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan senior group, started a petition in September of 2021 to lobby for a new $1,400 stimulus check just for seniors.
Prescriptions.
Another stimulus check would also offer important tax advantages for those on fixed incomes.
Stimulus is an advanced refundable tax credit.
Breaking news, Joe Biden is now debating on taking executive action. Top Democrats like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are trying to pass legislation that would change Social Security for years. And this comes as Republicans propose several big changes. Americans that receive monthly benefits also could receive a big decrease in checks this week. Everybody, Democrats are facing relentless GOP attacks over high inflation, and it appears to be an erring in on defense of programs like Social Security and Medicare as they seek in the final weeks of the midterm cycle to boost their standing with voters who say they are more distressed about the economy. In recent days, Joe Biden and lawmakers on Capitol Hill have boasted that they'll stifle and stifle any attempt to cut the programs, seizing on both of the rising likelihood that the Republicans wrest back control of at least one chamber of Congress next month, and plans from GOP lawmakers that could curtail the entitlement programs as part of a broader government spending change. And with conservatives favored to retake the House around the same time that the federal government approaches its debt limit, GOP politicians have suggested that they will use negotiations on raising that threshold as leverage to extract commensurate cuts. And also, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy, who is expected to serve as a speaker if he wins control of the chamber of the midterms, he said he would not predetermine anything. And Republicans Representative Nancy Mace casted spending negotiations over the debt ceiling as a matter of fiscal responsibility. She told CNN the federal government just kept getting record revenue year over year and hasn't had to make these tough decisions. Rick Scott, the chair of Senate Republicans, also called and released a plan earlier this year saying that all federal funding, including entitlements, should be for sunset every 5 years, which would be subject to so many of federal programs to repeated voters in increased polarized Congress. And Ron Johnson has likewise called to make Social Security funding discretionary, but contended he wanted to fix rather than eliminate the program. Democrats are pouncing on those remarks, and others to pose what they hope to be a clear and cutting contrast with Republicans. Bernie Sanders echoed that message on CNBC News, saying, "You know what Republicans are talking about? Cuts in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. It is absolutely irresponsible." Joe Biden is also authorizing a Democratic National Committee to transfer $10 million to House and Senate Democratic campaign committees, and is pledging to help raise $8 million for his party. A senior party official familiar with the plans told CBS News that the president's decision to distribute the money, which he can authorize as the head of the Democratic Party, comes as he continues to play a more important role in electing Democrats. But President Biden has proved to be an effective fundraiser, holding events in recent like California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and other states like Pennsylvania. The plan is to distribute $5 million each to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee and Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, meaning the DNC has transferred a total of $27 million so far this cycle. Separately, the party is vowing to help raise another $8 million for the two campaign committees. CBS News has found that the House Republicans continue to lead Democrats, but CBS News estimates that the majority they expected to win has been narrowing. Most immediately, the election will determine what Biden can get done for the rest of his term, and whether any of his remaining policy goals can go through Congress through executive orders, which future presidents can more easily undo.
The numbers are out for the latest round of stimulus checks.
And every way you look at this, North Carolina ranks in the middle of the pack. CBS 17 digital reporter Jody McCrary is digging deeper tonight into why that might be a sign the stimulus is actually working very well here.
The IRS says 5 million payments went to North Carolinians, roughly 1 for every 2 people living here.
People want to know, was this effective? One key piece of this